Well, hello.
Uh, is it just me, or was that an amazing bird song?
It ain't just you, pal. Was that an amazing set following two amazing sets last night, following two amazing sets at Cornell?
Yeah, I just thought that bird song just kept going and going and going and getting more and more amazing. I was thinking, the nugs.net commercial writes itself. I'm sitting there listening to this beautiful, beautiful music being mixed and sent down the wires perfectly, and get to watch Oteil Burbridge dancing while he plays that amazing music. And I just thought, this is couch touring at its finest right here, friends. So,
And
thank you, Nugs.
yes, thank you, Nugs. Thank you, Dead and Company, for letting this happen, bringing this into living rooms or wherever the heck you are, all over the country. And to those who are at the show, we miss you, but we are with you as well. Love seeing the faces of friends on the rail. The camera work is so beautiful. The crowd reaction shots are so beautiful. The shots of interaction between the band members, which you can't get any other way, because you might be way up in the rafters at a venue, or you may be on the rail and have like only one perspective. This is fantastic production and presentation of these events, and you can get it on nugs.net by subscribing to nugs.net, by purchasing individual shows on this tour, or by going for the whole enchilada by subscribing to the entire tour. And I recommend any of those options.
And there are audio formats, various audio formats available for downloading and streaming as well. And so some of you are watching this as the free preview on YouTube, which is why part of our mission here is, besides entertaining you during the void between sets, is to get some of you interested in checking out nugs.net, because they're the ones that brought us in to do this entertainment between the streams. And as you can see, Gary and I are really, really enthusiastic about nugs.net. It's so much fun. They have this immense archive of Grateful Dead, Dead and Company, Further. They got Bobby Weir and Wolf Bros, right? And Wilco and Bruce Springsteen and God knows what else. Just zillions and zillions of bands and literally millions of concerts available in various forms for streaming and downloading and stuff, and in various ways to connect with it. As Gary said, you can subscribe to the streaming service now, and there's a la carte downloading of individual shows. You can subscribe to the tour here, if you just want to check out Dead and Company. But as you can see, the production values are spectacular. And beyond that, go to nugs.net and poke around and see what sort of plans are available for you to become part of it.
That's right. In the meantime, we are going to be here every night on the tour, as if it isn't enough to have to listen to us on the radio once a week. Now you got to look at our faces up for the duration of this tour. But we hope that's not too much of a shock to your system, and we are going to alleviate that in just a moment by bringing a third face into the equation, and a third voice. And in fact, it'll be the voice, the beautiful voice that brought you that version of High Time a little while ago. So I think we're going to go right to that if there's no other business to transact. Should we?
We should run
Oh,
down
wait.
the set list. We forgot
That's
to
it.
talk
See,
about the music.
last night I asked for the set list twice, and this time I spaced it out completely. There you go.
Well, we were so busy talking about the coverage of the show. We should mention what happened in the show. They opened with Bertha into Good Lovin', a classic combo we used to hear a lot in the 70s. Brown Eyed Women, and I wrote three exclamation points after that one on my list, particularly happy with the interplay between John Mayer and Jeff Chimenti. Another three exclamation points after Jack Straw, which I thought was spectacular, high energy stuff. High Time, as Gary mentioned, featuring Oteil Burbridge on the vocals. And you're about to hear a discussion with Oteil that will make you happy, I think. Mr. Charlie, delightful. That amazing, amazing bird song I wrote on my list afterwards, that holy shit. And then they
Yeah.
closed the set with Don't Ease Me In.
When they go into those passages of birdsong, you hear John Coltrane in the house, you hear McCoy Tyner in the house, you hear Herbie Hancock in the house, because the vocabularies of these guys can go so many places with the music and take it places even the Grateful Dead never did, which is okay because what the Grateful Dead did was more than enough. But these guys bring their own shared musical experience into it, and it's pretty thrilling to see how much newness this music can be
And
imbued with.
I feel compelled to say that I am completely ignorant of jazz and did not get any of the references you were just talking about. And the music worked just perfectly fine for me, even though I am illiterate in matters of jazz. So it just worked as ensemble improvisation, which is what I signed up for when I jumped on this bus in 1972. God damn it.
Indeed. Well, listen, as I said, we're going to be here every night. We already have cool guests lined up for the coming nights. We're hustling to book more of them. We're going to get them all booked and confirmed and invited. On Tuesday, we're going to have the wonderful LP Giobbe, who is doing incredible things with the legacy of the Grateful Dead in very unexpected ways that some people may consider heresy and other people may consider a new pathway to paradise. So, and we so love talking to her, and you're going to love what you're about to hear from our friend Oteil. So let's go to that, and we're going to throw right back to the stage after that. So we'll say good night for now, and we'll talk to you again on Tuesday.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, the tour is off to a roaring start, and Dead Air got off to a roaring start last night when we talked to John Mayer, and this is going to be every bit as wonderful because we're going to talk to one of our favorite people. Please welcome Oteil Burbridge.
Hello.
What's up? How you guys doing?
I
Great,
hope you
man.
I hope you're enjoying the tour as much as we are.
I am. Every day's a surprise, you know. Barton Hall certainly was.
Yes, indeed. Well, hey, Oteil, since you're playing in Inglewood, California, I'm going to change things around behind me to give a bit of local atmosphere with a beloved architectural landmark from that area. There you go. You probably went by that on the band bus on the way to the gig, but anyway.
I believe we did.
Anyway, LA at its finest. So listen, man, I was lucky enough to be at Barton Hall. I was lucky enough to watch last night's show through the magic of Nugs, and man, this band is playing with such purpose, or as the Colonel would say, intention. And it has just been glorious. Everyone just seems in such an elated mood. How are you feeling about it?
You're just always grateful when everything comes together. You know, it, sometimes it's just you never can predict when, or you try to predict when, like, oh, let's do this, let's put these people together, and it's just like it doesn't happen. Maybe it doesn't happen that night, but a night like Barton Hall with so much pressure on you and everything just being different, like all of a sudden it seemed like a fluke, you know, but it just all came together and it's like, well, wow, if that can happen, then well, that's promising. you know
I'm curious about that pressure you mentioned. Like were you feeling some sense of being part of some historical continuum or something? What was the pressure?
yeah, well, I didn't feel like maybe the fear was being a really crappy part of the historical continuum because it's such a legendary show, and some people are like, hey, I like other shows better, but whatever, for some reason that show became super legendary. And what are you going to do? How are you ever going to match up to that? Thank God we didn't do the same set list. And because then it just really highlights the differences all the more, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. So like letting go of the set list and just being like, let's just have a great Dead and Company show if we can, and it'll happen to coincide on that same day.
Yeah, when we talked to John, the phrase "the weight of history" turned up, and
Yeah,
you
exactly. That's a great way to put it.
and you had the weight of Barton Hall history, and then you have the weight of this tour being historic in the context of this
Yeah.
band, and it feels almost like you cast all that stuff behind you really quickly. The minute you hit the stage at Barton, and the minute you started last night, it was like here we are in the moment, the way this music is meant to be presented, and
Yeah.
you know, and it didn't feel burdensome at all, and the weight of history became weightless.
It's all about the letting go. If you let go of the weight, it's not heavy anymore.
Yeah.
You just got to put the weight down. And that's kind of what we did. Something that really kind of threw me off a lot more than I was ready for was even before New Orleans Jazz Festival when we were in rehearsal and I walked in and Jay's kit was set up. That's the first time I haven't like seen Bill's kit there. And Mickey had all this new stuff. And man, it just threw me. Like, I don't know why I didn't think of that ahead of time. But after this is the 8th year, so closing in on a decade of walking and seeing everything look a certain way, and then all of a sudden it's just completely different. And so we had all that too, and fortunately I've played with Jay in my band and in Steve Kimmock's situations, all different kinds of things we've done. And so I have a personal chemistry with him. But together, we would be sitting there talking about all that together and just be like, man, we got to let it go and have fun right now because it is what it is. And we didn't make it this way,
Yeah.
And then when we put the weights down, we got to fly. I was like, oh man, this is going to be really something.
Nothing in what I saw and heard at the show gave me any sense that that was on your backs at all. It just felt very solidly musical and adventurous, just like every Dead and Company show I've ever seen. You guys, as we were saying with John yesterday, it seems like you're going to do that thing, leaving it all on the field every day for the rest of this trip.
Yeah, I've probably said in interviews with you guys that um, that's an old Colonel Bruce thing where you really don't know when your last show is. So if someone tells you it's your last show, it's going to be a different show than if it's not. And so you just tell yourself that before. And this whole tour is like that. It's like it's the final tour. You know this.
Yeah.
You know you've got 2 months to live. what
Yeah.
what are we gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, and wow,
That,
we can really do something.
yeah, that's something. One member, may have been Steve Van Zandt or someone in Bruce Springsteen's band, said the challenge Bruce gives us every night is, okay, you've got 3 hours left to live. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
You
Wow.
Yeah.
And it really is like that. The urgency is really there in this music. And getting back to the point about Jay, you also have the bridging factor of Jay having long experience with Bobby and Jeff, and
Yeah.
also Jay having had to step in on the last two tours and playing in the sand and all that. So it wasn't as abrupt as it might have been under other circumstances. And he'd already
Yeah.
infiltrated and been integrated into the band.
But it was still more abrupt than I counted on because when the kits changed,
Yeah,
not only did the look change, but the sound changed.
sure, sure.
So when Jay would play Bill's kit, there was still some more continuity there.
Hmm.
I could tell it was a different person behind the kit, but the tones were the same.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
now when I put my ears in, so visually the whole scene's changed and sonically the whole scene's changed. And I'm like, and for as a bass player and a drummer, that's the big change for me. That's the sea change where I have to like uh, replant my feet.
You
You
get to
know,
lock in with a different guy.
we're the foundation, and now that whole thing is with his kit. And so I just found myself making adjustments in my ears. I have a little iPad there where I can mix the sound myself. And I was like, oh, there we are. You got it set for Bill. You got to set it for Jay.
Yeah.
And then bam, dude, it was on.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And this band, both Dead and Company and the various iterations of the Grateful Dead have this long history of different personalities come in and affecting the groove and affecting the
Yeah.
interpersonal dynamics. And it's always, there have been some goodbyes that were sad, but there's also this sense of something new happening and some new possibilities. And you guys have seemed to adapt to each other really well and in a way that's really well suited to this band's dynamic.
Yeah, well, the philosophy of the band, and I think the philosophy of most of our lives, is to go with the flow. So today is going to present you with what today presents you. And then it's 5, 4, 3, 2, and here we go, right? So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
so
but that
we go.
and that's what the audience signs up for, man. There's a reason people
Yeah.
come and want to go to every show, or we'll go to 6 shows on a tour or go to 3 shows in a row. We want to hear it done in real time. We want to hear how each
Yeah.
of you and all of you collectively respond to this moment. And we're all pouring energy into this moment too. So
Yeah.
it's been a participatory experience for decades. And each one of you
Yeah.
guys is a moving part in the machine, but we're all in it together. And there's this sort of sense of the humming mechanism, that
Yeah.
we're all in it for that honest ride.
I mean, look, if the crowd at Barton Hall didn't give us the energy they were giving us, you know, you guys give us the wings. And when someone says, I love you just as you are,
Yeah.
be yourself, and then you do that and they're like, yeah, that's where it happens. And so we couldn't have done that without you guys. It's a great gift that I got to be a part of a second legendary Barton Hall, which is kind of like having a third, because you never really, when do you ever like match anything like that? And it's not about matching, but it sure feels like it right before you count off the first song.
Yeah. It really, you wiped away any preconceptions about the other Barton Hall, about the 77 Barton Hall really quickly. This show
Well,
isn't just,
fortunately, there's a whole new crowd there too. Like, it's a different moment. So
that's true.
that's why you really shouldn't hold on to those weights. You shouldn't hold on to those worries, because it is a different moment. Like, just what are you worried about, man? Go out, count it off. Let's do it.
Well, that seems to me the nature of this music is, you're not presenting a perfected version of something that took place before. You're instituting this moment with this group of people in this weather, at this temperature, with this color sky, with
Yeah.
this dinner in your belly. All of the variables come into
Yeah.
play, and we're all right there with you, man.
I tell you, man, I just think about more and more things that I'm grateful for. This morning I was on the elliptical, and it's a little trail in the video, like going through Turkey. And I'm like, man, imagine riding through that on horseback with my back pain. It's like, man, I'm really grateful for roads and cars. That I did that. But I was born in this time period with this technology or whatever. Just like, it's funny, man. If you quit worrying about stuff and picking out the bad stuff, every little thing that today gives you is great, because you got to be alive today. So
I was going to ask you about your back. I noticed you were using the stool for part of the show. Are you doing okay?
yeah, it's fine. What I'm doing is like it's mitigating so I can play more road shows. So when I've been standing a long time, usually after drums, I don't get to sit down like everybody else gets to go sit down. I have to run to the bathroom and then run back and get my ass back on stage and play. And so after drums, I get a really short break when Mickey's doing the beam.
Right.
And that's when I get to sit down. And so then we do this kind of spacey thing out of that, which is, probably going to be like slow.
Yeah,
And then there might be a slow song after that. And so if there's a really long slow period, I'm going to sit for it,
that is true. You don't take a break during drums and space. You play in drums and space. It's great. We love having you up there during that stuff too.
Yeah. And bass players normally don't get a break. And the one I would get, I don't get.
Well, and I want to talk about last night's drums, which was extraordinary, and had you playing a bass banjo. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
and Mickey was on xylophone and Jay was on traps, and every time, you know, I can get blown away by some combination of sounds that happens in that space. Mickey's very intent on making all of the drum sequences on this tour very special and kind of thematic. And last night was again, I've never heard that before.
It was great when he brought the balafon into rehearsal. That's one of my very favorite instruments on earth to play, um, because the way it's tuned, you can't play anything dissonant. And so you could just play drums. Like I just think about rhythms and I move my hands subtly this way and that. And all of a sudden I got this crazy, uh, just amount of melodies and patterns that are just like a DNA strand that just keeps turning. And he asked me, he was like, "You got a fretless? I want to do something different with this thing." And I was like, "Man, I suck at fretless." He was like, "You're a great musician. You don't suck at anything." I was like, "Nah, man, for real. I suck at fretless. Like, I don't play it unless I'm in the studio where I can go back and fix it." you know?
Mhm.
So I said, "But you got this African instrument, man. Let me bring my banjo bass." Because the whole reason I got that thing was for my banjo project, which is like African grooves, but with banjo. And I'm not using finger picks on this. Like I play it like the African Ngonis with my fingers, you know. And it just has that sound. It has a real African sound, especially with those nylon strings that I put on it so the frets aren't buzzing. And man, it was exactly how I thought it was going to be. When we did it in rehearsal, it was like, oh yeah, this is going to be good.
Will we see that instrument again on the tour, you think?
Oh yeah, they'll
Oh,
probably
good.
be doing it every night.
Haha, very good.
That was an
Okay.
absolutely inspired choice. I love that.
While we still have a few minutes, I want to ask you about your project that's been in progress since we spoke to you last. You were doing you went to Iceland to record an album of Jerry ballads, and I'm dying to hear it. How's it going?
It's going great, man. It finally got mastered, and I at this point, I've walked away from it, and then every once in a while, I'll just put it on and listen to the whole thing from beginning to end, and it still gets me, man. That time was so cathartic. The setting was just magical, and the music was so uplifting but melancholy too, so it like brought out all this stuff about I had really processed or even really began processing about my brother passing and then my dad passing. um so it always makes me cry. But it's still just as good as like when we were in there doing it and I was excited about it but couldn't have any objectivity. So right now it'll probably be out by Christmas. It's coming out on vinyl. I don't think it can all fit on one record, so it may have to be a double album.
That's fine.
uh,
What's it going to be
or
called?
it's tentatively right now, well, I guess it's pretty much finalized. It's going to be called A Lovely View of Heaven,
Oh,
which
wonderful.
is from Standing on the Moon, which we got just an unbelievable take of, man. Like I can't wait for you to hear this.
Oh,
And
boy.
I got to shout out Adam Tenenbaum, who really is our secret weapon on this record, man. He does this really ethereal guitar stuff, and everyone knows him. They're actually still hearing him a little bit because he wrote all these drum loops for Mickey.
Right.
And I was talking to Adam, and he was like, "Yeah, I heard one of those that I did." I was like, "All right, cool, man. You're still with us in a way, you know."
Hmm.
But he had made all these programs for me to do with a bass synthesizer that I had purchased because I wanted to do those cool Mickey sounds like he was making for Mickey, you know? And so I would send him the tune, and he would send me back an example of him playing over, like, this is how I would use it. And I was like, man, I'll never get it that good. Like, you should do this. So I just kept sending him the next song. We were in Iceland. He was here in LA, you know, and we kept sending the next song. He'd send it back, and then we would put that on while we were playing it. Because
Oh,
I did all these tracks at home, and we used them for the click and then re-record and background vocals. So and actually the lead vocal while we were tracking it. Then I went back and redid the lead vocals, and we kept pretty much all the background vocals I did at home.
wow, that's
But
great.
so I could send those things that I already had that I had done at home to Adam. And then when Al, the producer, Al Evans, shout out to Al Evans from Soul Live and many other things, he said, "Oh, let's use those tracks because they're already, you got up to a click, and we'll just erase what we don't want to use." And I was like, sweet. So we got to track with Adam, even though he wasn't there.
That's amazing. Isn't that
And
what you can do?
oh, dude, he brings the sound of the elves and all the old fairy tales and just all the magic. He's really got it. And we already had it with Crosby and Kimmock and Guarna and, you know, Lavazzoli. Like, we had a great bunch of guys, man. The Kimmocks, both of them.
Right.
That's wonderful.
And
Hey, we got to stop this. We've run out of time.
Oh, sorry, I'm just going
No,
on
no,
and
no,
on.
no, not don't be sorry. I'm just happy to hear you so happy with this record, and I'm dying to hear it. But the band is about to go back on stage, so we have to wrap this up.
yeah, I just want to say, Oteil, come back and talk to us on the radio at Greater Lanes, because I know there's Oteil and Friends stuff coming up later in the year.
Yeah.
And man, I wish I could be at every damn show on this tour, but I'm glad I get to watch it when I can. I'm going to try to get out and see you in person at least a few more times while this is going on. But it's
Yeah,
always a
man.
joy, my friend. We love you.
Yep.
Come check out this space banjo, baby.
All right, man. Thanks, Oteil.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
told I feel I'm a roving sign that I was born